2. My next guest, well, he's worked in the computer gaming industry. He's used those skills to employ some wonderful visual art, where he parks virtual airships from his latest book in different places. Yes, you did hear right, airships. He's just shown me, actually. I was so impressed. Nick Cook is here, he's from Oxford, the author of Cloud Riders, just brought out the second book in his trilogy, Breaking Storm. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I don't normally start an interview open-mouthed, but I want to come on to the virtual airships in just a moment, because we've actually taken a video of that and we've popped it on Facebook, so I want to make sure that people can get to our Facebook page and see it as you're describing it.
Great.
So facebook.com/BBC Oxford. Welcome to the show, Nick. First, I want to explore a bit more about your earlier career, because it was the gaming industry, and this is a multi-billion-pound industry. Why would anybody leave that?
Nobody's sane. But you know how it is. You spend your life, and I was in the games industry for over 20 years, and I was there right from the start. So we're talking Sinclair Spectrum, Commodore 64, doing those really simple graphics.
So you did that tennis game with the paddles, did you?
Not quite that simple. But, you know, it was a wonderful time. It would be me and a programmer working out of our back bedroom sort of thing. But, of course, the games industry grew, and my career grew with it. And by the end, I'd sort of co-founded 2 award-winning studios. We were having international number ones right around the world. So you'd think I'd be happy, wouldn't you? Well, that would be the normal, you think.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you love writing, and any of you out there right now who think you might want to be a writer one day, if you do, this is the case for me. It was like a little voice that just got louder and louder and louder all those years saying, Nick, be a full-time author. So I did this 8 years ago. I left the studio I founded to become a full-time author, like you do.
Yeah. But the thing, but they are remarkably similar, because you are creating images, you're creating stories. Obviously, with a game, there is the visual aspect. With being a writer, you're kind of forcing the reader to create the virtuals in their head.
That's brilliant. Absolutely right. And also, I'm a former art director, former artist, and so my actual writing style is very visual. So people read like Cloud Riders and Breaking Storm. It really, they say, this is like seeing a film, because I write very visually. I write what I see, and that's
so is it almost like screenplay writing then?
In some ways, I mean, it's really a very strong descriptive narrative. Yeah. You really, when I write, I literally have a movie playing in my head, and I'm writing down what I see, and it's full special effects. Steven Spielberg is producing. It's wonderful, and that all comes together in the actual books themselves.
Okay, so it's like maybe a musician, when he's just sort of writing words and humming a tune, can kind of almost hear the full orchestra and the full band going on in his brain.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes, as with music, you feel your way to that through various sort of like rehearsals and all the rest of it. And it's the same with writing. You do edits, and I have a lovely phrase for this. I call it book whispering. Why book whispering? Because sometimes the story whispers, so you have to listen really carefully. It's that, and it's at that alchemy which makes writing one of the best jobs in the world.
Yeah. So you describe what happens, but what happens before that, when you're trying to plan these things out and maybe trying to get the idea for one book? But with in your case, it's a trilogy.
It is a trilogy.
So that's a heck of a lot of planning, Nick.
Oh yes, but hence I've been writing for all this time. Because what you're doing is you're world building, and that takes loads of thinking time, planning. You're sketching out the characters, you're creating this sort of like world. Think of what J.R.R. Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings. Huge amounts of planning, and particularly if you're doing a trilogy, you have to spend an awful lot of time imagining all sorts of things, crazy things. For example, to give you a good example of this, Cloud Riders, the first book, it's a family of storm chasers. But the mother, she runs a diner called Twister Diner. And this is the lengths of research that a dedicated author goes to. So I was thinking to myself, well, what sort of thing was she cooking this Twister Diner? It's a bit of a gastro diner, okay?
Yeah.
So baked cheesecake. And then, of course, I am a slave to my art here. I obviously baked that cheesecake and ate it because, sometimes research is that hard.
Right. It seems to me that there is meticulous planning has gone into both the computer game design and almost the design of this trilogy as well.
Very similar. I mean, with a computer game now, you're looking at teams of, believe it or not, about between 300 and 500 people. And the actual planning side is hugely complicated. And okay, I'm one person with a trilogy, but you do a huge amount of planning to actually, because it needs to feel real. And slight, I don't know if I should say a slight sort of plot spoiler, but there's parallel worlds involved in the stories. I didn't hear that.
No, okay.
But so to actually get that to work, I really did my research into quantum physics and what have you. And I actually have, I'm going on a trip to see the Jet Fusion reactor in Nottingham. A week Saturday.
You are really taking this seriously, aren't you?
Yes.
This is Oxford resident Nick Cook is the author of Cloud Riders. The second book in the trilogy is called Breaking Storm. We will get onto these virtual airships in just a moment. In fact, after the next record. So head to facebook.com/BBC Oxford. Then you'll be able to see exactly what I'll be seeing in the studio. December 63, Oxford resident Nick Cook is with me in the studio, the author of Breaking Storm, which uses, get this, augmented, now stay with me on this please, we'll explain in just a moment. It uses augmented reality to park virtual airships from his latest book, Anywhere You Want. Nick, welcome back. When you came in, you showed me this thing, and it was a square of paper with squiggles on. And then it was. You may laugh. That's exactly how I'm describing it.
True.
And then you just pointed. In your case, it was an iPad, but I've got a tablet or whatever.
Any tablet.
There's an app you can download for Android or iOS, and you then point your tablet or your smartphone, I guess, at these squiggles, and then mysteriously a 3-dimensional airship appears on your screen.
Absolutely right.
This is what people can see on Facebook, facebook.com/BBC Oxford. I won't ask you to explain the technology, but it's a great tool for you to work with, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, what's a big part of when I'm a children's author, actually it's a crossover, and I have plenty of sort of adult fans as well. But anyway, going back to the writing, I do a lot of writing workshops and I work right around the school. I've just gone back from 10 days in Qatar running writing workshops out there, and I'm having a whale of a time. But this new workshop that I'm putting together uses augmented reality. And what I'm trying to do is really tap into my old games industry skills to really pull students in to create this in the classroom. So talking to them in a language they understand, from games to social media. I mean, books are competing with all of that. So we need to really engage the students and find a hook, just to, especially boys, dare I say it, to actually really keep them reading. And this, using something which will feel very familiar to them in the classroom, while I'm creating holograms, I'm parking an airship, for goodness sakes, over the school, which, let's face it, is quite cool.
Yeah.
So, if that doesn't really sort of light them up, I don't know what will. But this, this is basically a creative writing tool, because we're going to be basing writing on this sort of thing, really getting them to brainstorm their ideas. It's a form of role play writing, in fact.
Yeah. And it really sort of, it's almost more than 3D, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, because when you read a story, the image is there in your head, which is 3D aplenty. But this takes it to the next level. And I'm wondering, with your background in gaming, how much further could this go?
Well, there's augmented reality is the biggest thing, because at the moment we're all hearing lots about virtual reality. Now, I'm sure listeners will be familiar with that. The big goggles, and you put them on, you can't see the world anymore, and you look like some sort of cyborg. It's all very weird. The thing about augmented reality is it puts things into our world. So basically, it uses an iPad to project this thing in, and you see it over lets you a coffee cup or something like that. But the strange thing is, your brain starts to actually believe it's actually there. And this certainly happens with the airship. When I placed it over the Radcliffe camera, I had sort of tourists sort of wandering past and then doing double take, looking at the screen, then looking up at the sky, because they were seeing this huge,
Of course.
100-metre long airship doing slow sort of like loops over the over the city.
Isn't that absolutely amazing? Listen, you can go and see the virtual airship that Nick is describing on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/BBC Oxford. Nick Cook, thank you for coming in. Good luck with Cloud Riders. And of course, the second book is now Breaking Storm. Don't forget. Oh, yes, this is just going in paperback. Is that right? Is that what you're handing me
Yes,
here?
it is.
Okay, and is there a website where people can see this virtual airship and all that?
What I will do in the next 24 hours, I will put up a link on my own website, because this has all been top secret till now. So
okay.
You're getting a bit of an exclusive here, okay? So my website is www.nick-cook.net.
Okay, nick-cook.net. So you can see the airship on our Facebook page, but Nick will post more. And I've just been open-mouthed when you showed me that. That's absolutely brilliant. Nick, thank you for joining us. Do appreciate it, and good luck with Breaking Storm.
Thank you.
Thank you.